The DOcast. People doing the thinkable.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the DOcast, the first one this year. I want to thank you so much for joining with me today. I am with a great guest. My name is Richard Hanley. I started up a food company about a little over a year ago, a blog, and this podcast to help tap into some of the great minds of young entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs. We have an amazing guest today, but before that, I would like to get a hat tip to our sponsor, aka my company, Hanley's Foods, Louisiana All Natural. Currently, we are trying to figure out how we're going to produce our seasonal strawberry vinaigrette made with Louisiana strawberries, Steen's cane sugar, all the good, none of the bad, and we have a lot of manufacturing stuff going on. But our flagship salad dressing sensation is available in this restaurant that we're about to talk to the owner of, and all over Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Or you can order it online at hanleysfoods.com. And if you enter in the coupon code DOcast at checkout, you'll get $4 off your next order. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about our guest today. He is an art major in school. He went over to Broadway, which we'll talk about what happened there, and then came back and opened up a salad shop. So I'm very proud, happy to have him on the show to talk about how he got started and how he got going. So today I have the pleasure to sit down with Bradley Sanchez.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going, man?
Good. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So, curious, take me back. I know that we talked before many times. You know, he actually came up to me when we were at the farmer's market doing our thing, selling our salad dressing, before this building that we're sitting in right now didn't even exist. Tell me about it. And wanted to carry our dressing, which that was great. But the beginning, so what kind of... I know you said that your parents were Subway franchise owners, so you're always around that environment. But what kind of got you into? Where'd you go from art school?
Well, I graduated from LSU in 2010, and I was an arts administration major. So that was basically studying the business of the arts, and my focus was the theater. So immediately after graduating in 2010, literally in June, I got a job working for a company called the Roundabout Theater Company. And they worked on Broadway. They produced 8 shows a season. And when focusing in the administrative aspects of the arts, I was always leaning towards marketing, just because I have a sort of creative background, a design background, and so it fit well with me to go into the marketing route. So I was their digital marketing associate for 2 years, working on 16 Broadway shows during my time there. I was fortunate enough, one of our shows won the Best Musical Revival at the Tony Awards. So it was just a crazy, crazy experience that was literally a dream come true. It was exactly what I wanted to do. But then my fiance, actually, she works for a nonprofit organization called City Year, and they have sites all over the country. They work with schools that are in danger of high dropout rates. And she was working for the site in New York, and coincidentally, a woman that she was working with in New York became the executive director at the site in Baton Rouge, which is where we're
Hometown.
from. Yep. So she wanted Ryan to go with her, and so after about 2 years of me working on Broadway, sort of dream had come true, did what I felt like I needed to do in New York, accomplished what I felt like I wanted to accomplish with that. I was ready to make the move back to Baton Rouge. In a big part because of what you mentioned earlier. My father is in the franchise industry, and he also has convenience stores and does real estate as well, so he's sort of an entrepreneur himself. And I knew that coming back home from New York would give me that opportunity to start my own business, which was another big dream of mine, in addition to the theater. It was another big dream of mine to always have my own business and sort of work for myself. That's the kind of value that my dad instilled in me, is try as best you can to work for yourself.
Right.
So that opportunity came up. It was sort of serendipitous, and we took advantage of it. We moved back, and actually for a year after coming back, in 2012, I started working for Pinnacle Entertainment, which is a casino company in Louisiana, and I worked in their I was their digital marketing advisor for a year until I opened up the shop. So that's my journey of getting here.
So coming back from New York, getting into Baton Rouge, seeing a hole in the market.
That's exactly it. I mean,
What was your aha moment?
Yeah.
How did it come to you?
My aha moment was there's a concept similar to this in New York City, and I used to frequent it all the time. And my aha moment was literally going in there and saying, "Wow, this is very unique. It's and it's so focused that it makes so much sense." And I thought that I had been talking about this actually before I knew I was even moving back. So this conversation's been going on for 2 years, and so when I knew for sure that I would be moving back, and I knew for sure that I wanted to create my own business, this was the concept that sort of rose to the top, and I couldn't be more pleased because you said you're exactly right. This was a niche that wasn't around in Baton Rouge, or at least in this capacity.
No, you saw a market. You filled the need, and so location-wise too. How did and I guess your parents are good location scouts.
Yeah.
So were you just how did you find it? Did you have your heart set on one place? How many places did you look at? How did you zero in on the perfect spot, because it is in the middle of town?
Yeah, I mean, we knew for sure you can talk about you can have a good location, but also you have to make sure that the concept works with the location.
Right.
So
like McDonald's, people always say, "What's McDonald's?" Their big business, and most people would say, "Well, they're in the hamburger business." And Ray Kroc says, "No, I'm in the real estate business."
Yeah.
He puts a convenient place in where people are.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
location is everything.
We knew that we wanted to obviously be in a place where people embrace sort of a healthier lifestyle. So for me, the boxes to check were a place that offered a lot of fitness centers in the area. So I mean, on this Perkins stretch, there's literally like 6 or 7.
There's a UFC club right here too.
And we also wanted to be around
Gym.
a younger demo because we know that the sort of millennial generation has embraced healthier eating and a healthier diet more so than
10
the
minutes away
generations.
from a major university.
Yeah, so we wanted to be near LSU. So we had LSU, we had an area that focused, or was seemingly a healthier
Interstate.
lifestyle. Yeah, and we also wanted to be near some residential areas. Right. We've quickly learned that this is a lunch business, so it's also important as we move forward that is going to be a key is to be around an area where people are there's a lot of work traffic.
So you have the location, you have you find the niche, you see the market, everything's lining up. How did you raise the cash or get the finances available to pull all this off? Yeah,
I mean, I have to say that I'm in a fortunate situation where my father was able to help me out with getting this started, and we did have some other capital investors, but I'm in a fortunate position where I was able to. We already had equity from.
So you had it just kind of all written out and
we
planned.
We had some equity from our other businesses that we were able to draw from to fund this project. And what's great about this project and what it was intended is that we modeled a lot after a certain franchise, Subway franchise, in terms of the operations, is that it doesn't require a heavy startup. The overhead is minimal. Our location is 1,500 square feet, so it's not a ton of space.
You could pump out a lot of salads
we can do
within an hour, huh?
Yeah, we do a lot of salads per square foot, which is what we like to measure. So this sort of a package concept is easy to duplicate, and that was very much intentional for us because we knew we want to expand. But yeah, so like I said, I mean, it wasn't a terrible amount of heavy startup costs.
It's not a big startup.
It's not like this full blown, starting this full blown $1 million restaurant.
Right.
so the capital was a little bit easier to come by than would be a traditional
So
restaurant.
you get the location, you get the cash, you get the market, you get the niche. Another thing too I find, because it's funny, and I know I like to ask these little nitpicking questions because I'm kind of getting into the same industry where we're looking for a manufacturer, we're calling co-packers, no good co-packers. We're thinking about making our own place, you know, and there's so many details that go into that. So it's like another thing, it's a beautiful place. You know, what about, did you bring in like an interior designer, or did your parents just were so familiar enough with other franchises that they were able to help you out? Because it's a good looking store, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
Very clean and fresh, green obviously, which has to be for a salad shop.
Yeah.
And the name is perfect. I mean, no one has to second guess what it is.
Yeah.
The name of the company is The Salad Shop.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I'll get to the design in a little bit, but about the name, I mean, we wanted to make sure we knew it was a relatively new concept for Baton Rouge in this area, so we wanted to be as sort of forthright as possible. I mean, we pretty much are.
Nailed it.
So people know what they're getting. About the design, actually, like I said, I was just I come from a creative background as well, in addition to my sort of administrative business background. That's what made me merge my two passions with arts administration. So I sort of have a knack for design and not only
So you help
design,
interior design this?
we didn't have an interior designer. We did all of it ourselves.
Nice.
I knew what I wanted. I had a vision of what I wanted. I wanted it to be simple. I wanted it to be clean. Honestly, because it's my own aesthetic. That's what I enjoy, and I felt like this type of concept lends itself to that sort of clean, streamlined, minimal waste that's possible. I mean, that's another thing. I think we wanted to. We tried to use as many recycled materials as possible, as many green materials as possible, and I didn't want to clutter the place and have sort of wasted design. You know, I just wanted it to be clean and simple. So that was the intention. In terms of the back area honestly came from my work helping out with my parents' franchises, knowing exactly what I needed to do or what we needed to have in the back and how it should be laid out. Honestly, I don't know how people do it without any prior sort of like restaurant experience.
Yeah, because I mean it's just enough. You have to have just enough space for the back of the house, as far as the front of the house, to get that salad per square foot capita that you're looking for.
I mean, and there are still things that we oversaw, and there are still things I wish I could go
What's
back
one
and
thing,
say.
if you could go back, that you would want to change?
I wish we could make one. I think we need more seating, so I wish we were a little bit bigger. But I wish my back area was a little bit larger. We were.
But being that's not, would you cut more into the back of the house to get to the front of the house?
I would cut a little bit more into the front of the house, and we would move it a little bit further up.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I mean, there are minor things, but as a whole, I'm pretty pleased with. And really, to be honest, my parents kind of they trusted me in building this out. They didn't really help advise that much on the layout, so I sort of took a leap of faith, and it ended up working out.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times when we were installing things like the food line and stuff like that. I was just praying that the pieces would
everything
connect.
would come
Because
together.
sometimes when you
Hey, I want to say this to every person out there listening too, that it's every business. This shit is scary. You know, sometimes we don't know what we're doing. Sometimes, I was talking to another entrepreneur who employed like 20 people, and he's like, dude, sometimes I'm scratching my head thinking, there's no money in the bank. I don't know how these people are going to come in tomorrow. I can't pay anyone. I'm about to let them all go. I can't tell you the problems that we come up with. We've made over 45 batches, and not one has gone according to plan.
Wow.
This shit always breaks. Equipment breaks. People don't show up. Malfunctions. Things happen. One perfect example is we're using a new kettle, which required using a new mixer. And, well, we didn't know that this thing was used originally to make mayonnaise. So it's this high-speed mixer that doesn't have a speed, doesn't have an on and off switch. You just plug a 220 plug into the wall and let it rip.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and it actually projected a tidal wave of salad dressing, wiping out two people from their feet because they were trying to run from it. We turned it on, it was like turning on a blender without a lid. Just boom, it shot up. And so this salad dressing comes pouring out, and it was right. So it's like, you know what? Not everything always happens the way you want it. You just have to be confident that you have your mission and that you're going towards it. You know,
Yeah.
it's very scary.
No, I mean 100%. I don't know if I can curse on here, but 100% shit will go. Like shit will
happens.
be. Well, yeah, and so it's. I think that your success is not defined by your success is defined by how you react to that.
Yeah. Your success is defined by how you react to shit happening.
Yeah, that's a quote.
Love it. Well, everything here is too. We highlight quotes at the end, so
Okay.
I'm sure that'll be highlighted.
Sweet. But yeah, so I mean, literally, there was a ton of things that I was just, keeping my fingers crossed, holding my breath on, and there are things you can't really plan for. But if you make sure that your thought is thorough enough and focused enough, which we spent a year or more coming up with the concept and what we wanted. There are concepts out there like this, but we wanted to make them better, and we did. We feel like we did. So, we planned as much as we could possibly plan, and still things still weren't 100% like we would want them to be. It's just the name of the game.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, how would you? What would you tell with going through everything that you? How long have you been in business now?
4 months.
Open up. So, yeah, I mean this is still very brand new.
Yep.
Brand
and
new
so I
shop.
wanted to preface the whole interview saying that I am a new business owner, so you can take whatever this word is worth.
Yeah.
So.
But what being the 4 months that you've learned everything, we'll have to do another one next year to see how that year went.
I'm sure there'll be a different outlook.
Yeah. But what advice would you give to someone trying to do something like that? Going on a leap of faith of starting a franchise? Because you are fortunate with the money. So when you're raising money, like what I might be doing too, there's a lot of liability there too. So it's like you want to make sure you get it right the first time. There is no round two. It's only round one. You have one shot at this. What would you tell that person that's trying to start not even a franchise, or that's ultimately the business goal, which I think is
just a business,
business
small
model.
business.
I think that's a good business model.
I think first of all you have to be committed, like 100%. If you're going into a business on your own, it's 24 hours. There's no clocking in, clocking out. So you kind of have to understand that. And then two, there's a book that I love called The Purple Cow, and he talks about Seth Godin. You can be driving down a road, and you'll see the first cow you'll see on the side of the road. You'll be like, wow, look at that, that's a beautiful animal. And then after 10, 15, 20, few hundred of the cows driving down the road, they sort of all blend in together, and there's nothing sort of magnificent about them. But then you see that first purple cow, and that's what sticks out, and that is what becomes so great. And I think that is key when opening a business, is understanding your market and understanding whether or not you're a purple cow, because if you're just going to sort of blend into the rest of the community,
just with everyone else,
it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So I think understanding those two things: one, the work and dedication it takes, and two, what is unique about your business, and why do we need to have your business?
Yeah, what makes you different from everyone else? You have to define that and differento that.
And it can be a risk at the same time, because sometimes you don't know if the
risky.
Community even needs that.
Right.
The Baton Rouge community may not have even been accepting of a focused salad restaurant.
Right, and there was no going back.
Yeah.
You had to put everything was on the line, and that's the risk that is involved with this kind of stuff. Yeah, to me, I think that's the barrier. That's what separates entrepreneurs from wantrepreneurs. That's it's the most people will go all the way up, and when the going gets tough, they back out. But the people who make it forward are the tough who keep going.
Yeah.
It's always gonna be tough. You're gonna have some sobby nights and some nights where you're just second guessing everything.
Oh, yeah.
But you just have to muscle through that, and move on, and just put that in the past.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key. That's what separates the people who do it and the people who don't.
I like that you said that. My dad, that's like what his big thing is that everybody has ideas. Everybody has an idea about how to do something or what they can contribute to something, but not everybody acts on those ideas.
Execution plan.
Yeah. So, and I know that you usually ask about your favorite quotes, and I'll say this prematurely, but my favorite quote is from him. He's saying, we could either do this or we could either watch other people do this.
Love
And
it.
that's the name of the entrepreneurship world, is that, you just got to be
Right.
able to be,
Well, to be honestly, I
enough.
saw the same niche, and not this exact concept, but a salad shop. You got the name perfect.
Yeah.
Was like in one of my black book of ideas, but exactly that's where it was.
Yeah.
This is the one that I threw. That I have so many. I could just give you a poster. I have T-shirts. There's so many I try. It's just keep throwing that mud at the wall, seeing which one's stuck. This one's stuck. I'm going at it. But yeah, that's the big
I was
thing.
the same way. I was reserved. I had doubts before we opened. Literally a month before we opened, I was still having breakdowns, and I don't know if this is the right move.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, son, we could either not do it, or we could watch somebody else do it. That's how it's going to be. Somebody will do it eventually, and we need to take the opportunity and seize the day.
And I think you did it. It was really great. That's wonderful. I do got one more last question on the whole business logistics part.
Sure.
And because, and again, I'm kind of asking questions myself when I'm about to get a facility. I don't know if we get a facility. We're just looking at it, but everyone knows staff is everything. Without good staff, you have a horrible business. What do you look for, or how do you hire amazing staff? Because I always hear great feedback. Your staff's very nice. Cool, funky shirts. They're walking around wearing okie dokie artichoke.
Yeah.
It's fun, friendly. You have some cool slang all around the place. So what do you do to constantly keep good, happy staff without having a really good turnover rate, which I'm sure is popular in the subway industry?
Yeah. That is 100% the most challenging aspect of owning your own business is employee management. It's like having 15 kids, really. About morale, that was very, very important to me before opening.
People,
just in general,
personality,
customer experience, and without a happy staff, you will not have a good customer experience. You just
like
won't.
That.
So going into the interviews, I, to be honest with you, food experience sort of took a back seat to personality, attitude. I wasn't even really looking for food experience because I felt that we could get away with a lack of food experience in this concept.
And plus, if you have a lack of that experience, you can train a new face on your way.
Yeah.
Not what they know.
Yep.
Your way.
So for me, I would during the interview process, and I hate to sit down like, well, how would you react in this situation if this, Yeah. So to me, it was just about feeling out their energy, feeling out their attitude, ask them questions. What kind of music do they like? What are they into? Where are they from?
Right.
And so if they were responsive to those questions, then I would perk up, and I just knew. And I think you just know. When somebody wants to be there and when somebody doesn't. And to that also, now that we're actually open and the staff is here, I'm very laid back. I go by the motto that if you respect me, I will respect you back. If you don't have respect for your staff, they're not going to respect you. And so there's no sort of complex about who's here and who's there and who's on top and who's we're all in it together. We're all on the same level. Me as a business owner, I'm here for you if you're here for me. So that's the sort of mentality. We like to have fun, as you mentioned, with the memes and the funny images that we have around here. Because again, I just think that
personality, that morale.
Yeah, if the morale is down, your customer experience is not going to be great. If they're happy to be here, then your customers are going to feed off that energy. It comes a lot from the stage too. Like whenever performing, when you have a good audience, there's nothing better than having a good audience in the house that's laughing, that feels whenever it's dramatic and clapping. But if you have a bummer audience, the performance of the performers are going to be down. So it's the same thing. I was talking about this to my fiance. A lot of what we do is very similar to theater, and a lot of people they come to me and they're like, "How did you get in here? How did you get from the theater to the restaurant business?" Well, we have our backstage, we have our scripts. We have our actors with our scripts because they sort of have a set way of interacting with the customers. We have our patrons, just like I was saying. So if we have a bad house, then or we feed off the good energy, and they feed off of us. So it's very similar.
The salad tossing line is the center stage.
It's a performance,
floor.
and it really is. This kind of concept almost is a performance with the chopping and stuff like that.
It's a show.
So in a lot of ways, ironically, and I didn't even realize this going into it, it's very similar to the theater.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that my background in the theater has
Lights,
actually helped
camera,
a lot.
chop.
It's a lot about presentation,
Mm-hmm.
you know. What we do is a presentation. So
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that, because one of my goals too for this year is to really get into the culinary. You know, I'm in the food industry and all.
Mhm.
I am a foodie, but you know, the concept of being a chef is what I'm exploring right now. And one thing that everyone that's very big on every chef's list is presentation. What does it look like? How does it come out? How do the colors balance each other? How does everything look together? So yeah, presentation is everything. From when you walk in, that goes in every experience. You know, I say this all the time is, and I know you can relate. And I would love to talk about this too a little bit about how much design and arts background has excelled your business. If you go to the website, if you go to anything that I do, all my marketing materials with the company that I'm at, it looks, I mean, we look like a huge company on the internet, all right? And in reality, it's a one-man band with a lot of friends and family.
Yeah.
And that's how we're doing it right now.
Yeah, it's true. And my marketing and arts background has both lent themselves to this business, because with marketing, I know that I have to have a consistent vision, a focused vision, consistent vision across all platforms. That's what I learned a lot about that when I was working in New York.
So are you making all your little, on the Facebook and Twitter, are you designing all those? Or
I'm designing, yeah.
They look good, and
yeah,
so I didn't know if you hire a designer or...
No, I do all of the design and do all of the marketing and all of our social media. And it's just having a consistent voice across all platforms, no matter what you're going to do. And I think a lot of people don't put enough focus on that. I think it's so important to maintain that vision and that voice. And then my arts background, it helped me a lot with the presentation, like you said. I am no chef by any means, but I know what looks good and what doesn't. And I think that's helped me out a lot when preparing the foods. And also, I mean, I know what tastes good, or at least to me, what tastes good and what doesn't. But like you said, you can have a great tasting dish and it look awful. It's not going to be appetizing.
Exactly.
But
You
the
eat
sort
with
of
your
beauty,
eyes.
I mean, the beauty about this concept is that the customer is the chef. We're not the chefs, really. I mean, we do have our signature items, which are like pre-assembled recipes that are already sort of prepared for the guests. But really, that's the beauty of it.
Choose your own adventure, build your own salad.
That the guests are the chefs, and this concept
Empower
of
them.
the sort of food line, just like Chipotle or Subway or some other concepts that are out there. I think that's why they're so popular now, is because that's what people want. People want ultimate customization.
Right. You give it to them.
But yeah, I'm there to support the vision in that way. So,
Yeah, and and again, I really think that design and having that kind of background is a great way to help excel any company.
I agree. Yeah.
You know,
Especially marketing. I mean,
No doubt.
because there's some terrible stuff out there. But
so let's go back to the business side of it. So you have obviously this place. The ultimate goal is to franchise, right?
I wouldn't say the ultimate goal is to there's two different options. We could either franchise it or just take it privately, sort of like what Chipotle did. Chipotle.
How does it work? I'm kind of unfamiliar.
They kept it private with capital investments.
Okay.
And then slowly built their equity and invested back into the company, which then continued to build out.
Okay.
But I think now they're public, so it's a whole different ballgame. But we're still trying to figure out exactly what we want to do. I mean,
Interesting. Yeah.
If you
What's
go
the
private,
pros and cons that you're debating right now?
Yeah, if you go private, it's a slower process.
Sure.
Because you have to raise that money in a more robust way. But the benefit of staying private is you maintain a lot of your assets. Going into the franchise route, you lose a lot of that power, really, because while you're there to oversee it,
Anyone can buy a franchise.
anyone can buy a franchise.
It could be the wrong person, like you said at the very
terribly.
beginning.
Yeah.
People, your staff is your whole experience.
Yeah.
So if you just have this guy in it just to make a few dollars, it's not a good match.
And the sort of the reason why it's so popular and so attractive is because it's the best way to expand in a rapid pace. I mean, you can establish 15 different sites in a year. And that's for like a small franchise. But But yeah, so I mean, there are pros and cons. We're still trying to weigh what exactly we want. I'm very, going back to the sort of the arts and marketing experience that I have, I'm very protective over the image that we have, not only the outward-facing image, but the morale, the culture, the work culture, customer experience. I'm very protective over that, and I try to keep a tight hold on it. So it would be difficult, I think, for me to establish franchise, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know where the path
Never know.
goes.
We're 4 months old. My dad said in 6 months we'll talk about where we want to go next. And so the hope is, whatever way we do go, to have another site up in a year.
Have you had a location? I mean, I've only heard this, that it's best to roll out kind of in the same city.
Mm-hmm.
That way you could help manage the two. And then, like, the ultimate goal is to get 3 in a particular city. Then you go on a sister city, which in our case would be New Orleans. And then that's like one of the best ways to try it. Because if you go all the way across town, obviously, or another state, it could be disastrous.
Yeah. No, it's almost exactly what our intentions are. We definitely want to establish another site in Baton Rouge. And we have a few areas in mind. We've been approached actually by a few developers. So that is our intention, is to stay in Baton Rouge for at least the second and or third site. And then, just like you said, slowly start branching out into other cities. I'd like to stay in Louisiana for a few years before going to another state, because that's a whole new ball game when you're talking about distribution and
and one of the best quotes I can remember from another podcast with David Heinemeier Hansen, he said it, I think the best way: grow slow, profitable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go too big too fast, and they're their own cancer.
Yeah.
They can't keep up.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you deal with that as well.
Yeah, and it's like, man, money is a commodity. It's available everywhere. Everyone always talks about money. There's bankers, there's investors, there's people who want equity, this and that, but it's everywhere. So just like we're doing, we're just growing organically. Taking the next step. I mean, we might have to go raise money or do something with money if you want to get a manufacturing to really pump these bottles out, but
I was reading
we're
something.
just kind of growing organically.
I was reading something in Inc. magazine, and they were talking about the power of embracing being small. I think a lot of times nowadays it seems like everyone wants to grow so quickly, and multiple sites and multiple, and this article talked about just, living and embracing being a small business, and if you put the effort into it and the development into it, it will grow. But not rushing it. And there's a lot to be said about that. I mean, I think you have to ask yourself, why do you want to grow?
That's
Is
a
it
good
for
point.
financial reasons? Because that's probably not the right reason.
No doubt.
But if you feel like you have a product that is worth showing the world, then maybe so. But I think it takes time to figure that out.
Yeah, you got to find that why. That's definitely important. And then, and then you have the question, because if you bring in outsiders, they don't care about your culture and all that stuff. They just care about the profits. So now it's different. Now you're not building a company. You're building for profits.
Yep.
Profits for other people that don't care about what you do to help grow your company. Like if you wanted to take, we had the best year yet, so we're taking everyone out from Maui for the week or something like that. If you're a private company, you can do that. But if you're, if you get a few investors in there, they can be like, whoa, hey guys, what y'all doing over there? Y'all can't be doing that.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not really in full control too. I don't think a lot of people realize that. They open up equity, they bring on investors, but guess what? Now you're a worker.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
So
it's a line to walk. I mean, it's interesting. That's what makes business interesting and risky.
Exactly. It's all about risk. So yeah, you said earlier, I do kind of want to wrap it up with that. What is a book, a song, and a quote you love?
Okay. I'll start with the book. I think one of my favorite books, actually I'm reading a really good book right now called Double Down by the same authors that wrote Game Change, and it's about the 2012 election. But that doesn't really lend itself to this conversation. But
any book that you love.
my favorite
it could
book,
be a kid book.
It's called Rocket Boys by Homer Hickam, and I think they made it into a movie called October Sky, and it's about, it takes place in the 50s or 60s, and it's about that generation during sort of like the sort of Russian-U.S. standoff whenever Russia released Sputnik into space.
Yeah.
And it's all about that sort of space exploration and these kids that are interested in that. But to me, it's about like hope and about the future. And I don't know, I just really like it. I read it as a kid, and then I read it as an adult a few years ago, and it meant it was like a 180 in terms of what it meant to me. Oh, and I also one of my other favorite books, Purple Cow by Seth Godin.
Cow.
If, you know, for the business minds, that is, I think, the best book for marketers and business owners and entrepreneurs. It just talks about separating yourself from the others. My favorite what was it?
Song?
My favorite song.
I can always edit that.
Right now, there's a really good band that I like called Walk the Moon, and they have a song called Anna's Son that is good. But I don't like to be that type of guy that likes these indie, discreet artists. So my favorite song really is the Beatles' Yesterday, hands down.
There you go.
When I was in New York, I saw Paul McCartney in Citi Field.
Nice.
And it changed my life. So that's one of my favorites. And then my favorite quote, like I mentioned earlier, is from my dad, who's really my biggest inspiration. And you could either do it yourself or watch other people do it. And that's just the name of the entrepreneur world.
No doubt. Do it yourself. I love that. That is great. Hey, man, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You can find this episode online at DOcast.net. And we're running a contest, too. So if you go to this episode and drop a comment on what it is that you're going to do today to get yourself closer to your goals, or any kind of thing that you're going to do to move forward, Bradley will give you a free salad if you're in the Baton Rouge area. Just come on in, and it will select the winner. You'll have a secret code or a special word to say, and you'll get a salad on the house. You can find this interview online with topics, quotes, and links at thedocast.net. One more hat tip to Hanley's Foods. Thanks again. If you like the show, please do us a favor. Head over to iTunes and leave me a review. It really helps us out a lot. This is Richard and Bradley signing out.
Thank you.
Do it big.